Hey, congratulations on your new film, The Girl in the Pool.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
It's such a good feeling to get this sophomore film out of the way. Your second directorial film here. But tell us your decision that you wanted to direct this movie and how this project came about with you.
Oh man, it's such a hard thing to say in a short amount of time, but actually my dad is the one who found the script originally. So he had brought it to me to direct, and we were gonna make it on a super shoestring budget with just us. And through a really random series of roundabout channels, it ended up with a mutual friend of ours who was looking for a project for Freddie specifically. And so we were kind of like, oh, okay, like he won't want to do it. Let's just see what he has to say. And he ended up really liking it. So him and I met and we talked and made sure we were on the same page, and we were just really excited about what we could kind of excavate from what was on the page and make even more of our own. So yeah.
Most excellent. Tell us about Freddie's character, Thomas, the mindset that this man is actually going through. Because I get that he's very mercurial. He has this like paranoia throughout the entire film. But I guess that's the perfect formula for a thriller, right?
Yeah, it's, I feel like this film, we attempted to genre bend it a little bit because I was like, the circumstances are so surreal. And I don't want to talk about the plot points and give too much away, but I was like, how do we empathize with this person who is making a series of horrible decisions that are so kind of like out of the realm of reality. And so I think like the big question mark is the thriller aspect of the film, but it's really fun to watch Freddie just not be able to stand his ground as this character with anyone in his family. And so we talked about making him kind of like the ultimate beta. Like everyone's always pushing him around and he's always like, okay, how do I fix this situation? But he's so used to just complying and not being honest with himself that that really is what was the crux of what we wanted to build the rest of his character on.
So how do you direct someone like Freddie Prinze Jr. through a film like this, who has so much experience in the industry?
Yeah, that was something that I didn't think about until we got to set, quite honestly. And I was like, oh shit, like this guy with this amazing long-standing career is really trusting me. And I think because he trusted me so much from the get-go, that's why I didn't really think about it. Um, and I think I'm so focused on the story and the execution, and I get so excited by that. That kind of nullifies any intimidation I might have had by working with someone more experienced. And we do have very, very different styles of working. So that was interesting to find our flow. And I really love when things are very messy, chaotic. And he's like, I kind of like to know what's going on. Can you keep me in the loop? I'm like, okay, how do I keep you in the loop, but keep you on your toes? Because this man is unraveling. Like, he is flustered. And if you're trusting me all the time, I feel like we can get more on camera if you're actually kind of frustrated with me. So it was this really fine balance of him being like, okay, I'm gonna trust that you're doing this, but like I'm not used to working like this. So I'm just very grateful to him that he showed up willing to play. That was such a gift.
Since you mentioned this, describe your style of directing that
Yeah, I think it's hard. I'm still figuring it out, but I love having a blueprint. We all know what each scene, each moment is about. But when you get there, there's a certain energy that you can't plan for. And I think finding that and finding a way to capture it and lean into it is going to give some sort of element to what is on camera beyond the exposition, beyond the story. It's an essence. And I don't know if you can fully plan for that versus just being aware and running with it. And sometimes that does mean deviating a little bit from your plan. Or you get there and you're like, this dialogue just isn't feeling it. How do we get around this knowing what all of our intentions are in this moment?
Absolutely. And I always find projects like thrillers are always hard to handle to basically project out there because a lot of people when they think of like these psychological thrillers they're trying to imitate like Alfred Hitchcock. So how do you approach a film like The Girl in the Pool and try to get those elements in there for a film like this?
I think it's really important to have a lot of knowledge about the genre you're working in. So obviously, I've watched a bunch of films and there are moments that stand out to me where I'm like, "Oh, I like how that made me feel. Why did that put me on edge?" And kind of understanding the formula, for lack of a better word, of what is it that creates tension? And I don't even like the word formula because I don't think there's one set way, but just what are the building blocks of that? And it can come in so many different forms. So I think finding what most excites you, and I think being really in tune with, movie creators are also movie watchers. We understand like what evokes a feeling and paying attention to when the rest of your crew is reacting to something that means something versus if everyone's kind of tuned out, you're askew a little bit.
Yeah, that is true, and I think it really helps is and kudos to your cinematographer, the how you position your cameras, your camera angles, and editing all this. That actually really does set the mood. Could you talk about the crew that you brought on board that actually helped put all this together?
Yeah, Alonzo Holmes is our DP and he is amazing. And we spent a lot of time shot listing. I think there was one week where we were on Zoom for like 13 hours a day, back to back to back, just talking about everything. And I gave him a lot of leeway, like, tell me when you don't like something. Like, you have an expertise that I don't have. Let's truly collaborate. And so that was how we came up with a lot of our shots because he would challenge something, I would challenge him back, and then we'd kind of find a solution. And the biggest thing for Quiver was we're in one location the whole time. How do you make it not feel like one location? So Alonzo and I talked a lot about bringing Freddie's internal state into it, or his Tom's internal state, of just this kind of mental unravel, not only with stress, but he's drinking with his buddies. And then, it goes even further without giving more stuff away. So he's like physically impaired as well as mentally impaired. And so he kind of, I think, going with that was so fun because you're like, he thinks he's like, okay, I'm figuring this out. So our cinematography, we wanted to mimic that as well instead of it relying solely on the actors.
Speaking of one location, tell us about that house. I mean, such a beautiful house and such a I have never seen a house like that with such a big
I
backyard.
know, I know. It was in Santa Clarita, and Ed, who owns the house, was so nice. And he was there for the whole shoot. And he had this beautiful dog, Penny, that was like around, just would not bark once, watched every single take. But yeah, we got really lucky in finding a location where not only it gave us space to execute what we needed to story-wise, but enough space to house everything and be able to do all the stuff that production requires without having to like have multiple locations nearby.
So how long was this shoot for the girl in the pool?
I believe it was 15 days.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So when a case, not revealing too much, when a case with the party scenes, obviously, as time actually goes by, was lighting a difficult challenge when you're doing the production something like this? Because everything all
Yeah.
happened in a single day in a film like this.
Yeah, and I'm trying to even remember the lighting thing because I really don't remember a time where we were like, oh my God, we're racing against the clock. The only time I really remember that was when we were talking about using the markers of the sky uh, in tandem with his psychological evolution. where in the beginning when he's kind of more okay, like I'm playing like the straight, calm, like I understand what's going on guy, it's daylight. And then as he starts to get a little more convoluted, we need a dusk, but it's very hard to shoot at dusk. So we did plan out, okay, how do we shoot at the times of days that will give us the most malleability to kind of lean on our colorist to make that happen. And then night was when it was like full unravel. And luckily, some of that was in the house, so we could cheat that. But we got very lucky with a lot of stuff on this production of it just kind of working out. And so I rode that wave as long as I could.
So for you in your aspect, what do you think was the greatest challenge in a project with the girl in the pool?
Oh man.
Sounds like everything, huh?
It's really hard to answer that because there's like micro challenges and then there's bigger challenges. And in the moment, a lot of the challenges feel just kind of mind-boggling, but then you look back and you're like, maybe that was for the better. So I don't know. But I think probably it was, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one actually.
That's fine. Dakota, this is your your second film, and you had a very good acting career. How do you like this transition into the director seats away from being in front of the camera and now behind the camera for yourself? How is this overall experience for you?
It's been so fun and unexpected. I really grew up hyper focused on the acting and it naturally evolved into this and it's the best thing that could have happened because I just I found something I really love and it's a really good feeling to wake up every day and be like, okay, I just want to get to my computer and like pull images and think about this script and dissect this moment and like play around with the camera and put things together. And I think with acting, sometimes it's hard. Like you can only create so much of your own opportunities, but directing, it's I can go pick up my cell phone and just be like, let me play around with this and bring it back to my house and like see what I can edit just for fun to get better with editing. And so there's always kind of something you can just go out and do. And I love that aspect of it.
Most excellent. Well, let me wrap it up with one last question with you, Dakota. Speaking of, are you going to be back in the director's chair? Do you have something lined up already?
That's the plan. I'm in negotiations for a horror film right now, so fingers crossed that that goes through. It's a big genre I'm interested in. But yeah, I just want to, I love being on set, so if I could be on set 90% of the year, I would easily do that.
Well said. Thriller to horror. That sounds like an excellent proposition. Well, Dakota, thank you very much for carrying this conversation with us. The Girl in the Pool. It's such a psychological thriller that it's a thrilling ride in, and it really showcased Freddie Prinze Jr. in this film. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.